Back in Tennessee, it's nice and cold.
Yes, it is.
We are in Gallatin, Tennessee, which is right outside of Nashville. We are here to look into the 3.5-year-old murder case of Lydia Gutierrez. Lydia was a beautiful 27-year-old who spent her days as a waitress serving the locals. After her shift, Lydia would return home and take on her other job, that of a loving single mom raising 3 little boys.
Yeah, the 2 babies, 1.5 and 2.5.
So sad.
Were actually home when this occurred.
On August the 12th, 2010, Lydia's 8-year-old son came home from school and found his mom with a Walmart bag over her head and 2 knives protruding from her neck. Police determined that Lydia had been killed earlier that morning between approximately 9:30 and 11:30, brutally and horribly in front of her 2 little sons.
This is the most recent case we've had at only 3 years old, and that presents a different challenge because most of the evidence has already been tested for DNA and came back inconclusive.
You can't blame them for thinking that looking at that crime scene, something was going to come back with DNA on it.
You still have a lot of pieces. Now it's just trying to fit it all together.
Look at you saying we don't need DNA because we're going to get all these little pieces together. I got a convert. Lydia's babies called their mom's killer a monster. I agree. For their sake, I hope we can catch who did this. Maybe we'll have some luck.
It has been 16 years and still no answer.
Police consider her killing a cold case.
Years later, the case is still unsolved.
There are so many cold cases out there just waiting to be solved.
The crime scene ultimately tells the story of the murder.
We want to bring justice to these victims. Hey, guys.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm Kelly. It's nice to meet you.
Chris.
Chris, nice to meet you.
Lydia's murder is definitely different to me. You see a mother in that type of scene, the children being left there at home. Anytime you bring children into a case like this, it drives you that much more to find closure and be her voice.
How are y'all? Alan Brown, Daniel.
We're bringing Alan Brown back this week because we need his patience and his persistence. Why don't you just start from the beginning and tell us about the case?
Officers responded to the scene after Lydia's oldest child, Carl, had gotten off the school bus and they actually found his mom.
And then I walked in the house and I said, Mama, I did that picture. Did you have a good day? And then I didn't hear an answer. And then that's when I saw it laying on the floor.
They found 2 younger children there. Their ages were 2 and 1 at the time.
What's your name?
My name's Susan.
What happened to your mama inside? Did you see anything?
And Mama doing the box. Mama, today.
Strangulation, suffocation, knife. First responders called all the local hospitals to be on the lookout for anyone coming in with any sort of suspicious injuries. Within an hour, this case got its very first lead. Okay, our first suspect, Josh Singletary.
There was an individual there that was getting medical treatment for unusual lacerations. Once the officers get there, they're given a name. The individual there receiving the treatments for the lacerations was Josh Singletary, so suspicions just heightened greatly at that time.
Glass fell on my leg today. It's not no defense wound. It's not no offense wound. I didn't do nothing wrong.
Josh Singletary told the police that the cuts on his hands and legs were caused by a pane of glass that he accidentally broke in his garage.
And it just came on my head, man. And as soon as it hit my head, and everything came falling down on me.
When the investigators went to his house, they found broken glass with his blood on it in the garage. The question is, was Josh trying to cover up injuries he got during Lydia's murder, or is it just one hell of a coincidence? When investigators asked if Josh knew Lydia...
I know who that is. Miss Lydia. She's our waitress in Buffalo Wild Wings.
From there, he admitted that he had had a sexual relationship with her.
This is your chance, Josh. Okay, we had sex. We went out a couple of nights, man, had a couple drinks, man, went back to her house and had sex. Other than that, I haven't talked to her since.
During the investigation, we developed that Josh was with Christopher Cody Wade.
Just call him Cody Wade?
Mm-hmm.
Josh's roommate, Cody Wade, was with Josh all day. And that morning, they were caught on security cameras approximately 2 miles from Lydia's house. The murder happens in the morning. So up until here, Cody and Josh are in Gallatin where Lydia's found.
Correct.
This is our window. Our gap is from a little after 9 till 12 o'clock. We have to try and figure out what they were doing in this time frame, and hopefully Cody can help us get there. Cody initially denied knowing anything about the murder, but after being pressured by the detectives, he admitted he had dropped Josh off near Lydia's house that morning. Picked him up shortly thereafter, and Josh told him he'd been in a fight.
You dropped him off. What did he tell you?
A half hour, come back, meet me right here.
Same spot?
Yeah.
You told me about the injuries on his hand. Did you see any other injuries?
And his leg was awful, man. That's all I could stare at, really.
Was his leg like that when he got back in your car? What? What did he tell you had happened to that?
Got in a fight. That's all he told me all the way home.
And he told you some guy, not a chick?
Yeah, some guy.
Josh was arrested that day.
Day or so after Cody gives that statement, Cody recants his statement, hey, I was lying.
Sir, I told both of you false information. Oh, that was false. Tell me the truth. Could you have done it? She could have. But I had no idea, sir. I had no idea.
What made him do that?
He is just a rubber ball. He's all over the place.
When Cody recants his statement, the decision was made to halt on the prosecution. Josh was released shortly thereafter.
So the most recent boyfriend she has winds up in the ER with lacerations.
He's either involved or the unluckiest man in the world.
Yeah.
You would think that Josh would be an obvious suspect, but when the detectives looked a little deeper, they found out that Josh wasn't the only suspicious person in Lydia's life. Okay, so now we have our second suspect, Albert Ronnie Doris. He's a ex-con, because his priors are for like fraud, embezzlement, slick stuff. He's not just a car thief or a doper.
Victim owes him money?
$3,000, the rest of the money for that truck.
Months before the murder, Ronnie sold Lydia a red pickup truck, which she'd only partially paid him for.
How long have you been waiting for the remaining payment on the...
About 2 months.
Okay.
If he knows she has $3,000, you kill her and you get the truck back as well.
He took possession of that truck right after the murder.
How fast was it, Chris?
It was less than a week.
That guy's not worried about her being murdered or anything. The reason he wants the truck back is because he's going to sell it.
Oh, of course. He wants to make sure it's not tied up for months.
Yeah, it's all about the money. He could care less that she's dead.
Is there anything else that we need to add up there? So we've got a big to-do list. We need to reinvestigate the crime scene, piece together a clear timeline for the murder, and talk to all the witnesses we can find to see if Cody or anybody else knows who could have killed Lydia in such a horrible way and left her kids without a mother.
We're headed to meet Lydia's family to let them know that we're here to help. Lydia's oldest son, Carl, now lives with his father, but Lydia's mother, Virginia, is raising her 2 youngest sons.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm Kelly.
I'm Virginia.
Deanna.
Nice to meet you.
And what's your name, baby?
PJ.
Hi, PJ. Nice to meet you.
And you are?
Berto.
Berto. You go by Berto? Nice to meet you, Berto. PJ and Berto were just babies when their mother was killed, and it breaks your heart to think about what they saw that day. I can't imagine how horrible and confusing it must have been for those little boys, and still is today. Tell us about your sister, Lydia. What do you remember most about her growing up?
She was goofy.
Really?
She made everybody laugh. She had friends who didn't have a place to stay. She said, come to my place, you can stay. On her tombstone, we said to know her was to love her. And that's how it went. We're a very tight-knit family.
As mothers, we give you complete credit for taking them in and taking them on and doing all that you have.
You're doing a good job. It's a big role to have to
It is.
fill.
Because I can't raise them as grandchildren. And that's the hard part.
Yeah, you want to be the grandma, but now you got to be the mom.
And then when they start calling me mom, I say, like, no, I'm grandma. I'm not mom. Mom is in heaven. This case not being solved is so tough for us. This person turned our world upside down. He had no God-given right to take my daughter's life. He murdered my child.
When Mom was alive, I went out the door since she wasn't in there. And then I saw a knife in my mom. So when Berto woke up, I got him some ice cream for me and him. And I was
You were a baby, huh?
It's horrible, isn't it? You know what? You were very brave to take care of your little brother that day. You're a very brave little boy. You know that? You know it's a hard case.
It is.
You've always known that. And we know it's a hard case. But we're still going to try our very hardest.
Okay.
Okay? Take care of your grandma, okay, baby? Virginia, give me a hug. You got enough to worry about.
You worry about all that, okay?
Okay.
All right. We are in Gallatin, Tennessee, investigating the 2010 murder of Lydia Gutierrez, a sweet, loving mother of 3 little boys. You got your pictures already, little nerd?
This is a complex crime scene involving multiple rooms and multiple weapons. And we need to get a better understanding of how it all happened in order to get a clear assessment of our killer.
Oh, this is really small, though.
Carl, Lydia's 8-year-old son, discovered her body in the living room on the floor.
He walks right through the door. She's right here. Lydia's laying flat on her back. She's got a bag over her head.
It was a combination that caused her death. Asphyxiation, as well as having 2 knives that were inserted into her neck.
On top of the TV unit is a bottle of 409.
Lydia's body smelled of disinfectant, and investigators did locate an empty 409 bottle nearby. It seems like our suspect possibly tried to cover up any DNA on Lydia's body by pouring the entire bottle on her. Her shirt was still completely soaked when responders arrived at 3 p.m.
Underneath her is a dish rag like you'd wash dishes with. The sink was also filled with water and dish soap. So one thought could be that when our intruder came in that she was washing dishes. She's got her dish rag. They talk at first. Maybe intruder goes to grab her.
What's interesting about this case is that all the weapons that were used to kill Lydia came from inside her house, which tells me this all happened in the heat of the moment.
At this point, he grabs this bag, puts it on her head. He's trying to strangle her. This drawer is open. There is a knife half hanging out of here. Maybe she goes for that when he realizes, oh, no, you're not. This burner were actually on the floor right here, like they were pulled off. She grabs for that butcher block. Okay, it's dumping. She's trying to get the knives. They're just lying everywhere. There's a total of 3 here. 2 right there by the victim. 2 in the victim.
God, they're everywhere.
They're everywhere.
The struggle starts in the kitchen and ultimately ends up in the living room on the floor. I believe at some point, the killer stepped on Lydia's face and neck area, crushing her hyoid bone. He perhaps then grabbed the couch cushion to continue suffocating her. As Lydia was losing consciousness, I believe the killer grabbed 2 knives and stabbed Lydia in the neck with both of them.
That's just because he wants to make sure she's dead.
Visualizing the struggle, it seems to perfectly explain how Josh could have gotten his unusual cuts, except for one key thing. The cuts on Josh's leg were extremely deep and required 14 stitches, yet none of his blood was discovered at this crime scene. So if that cut on Josh's leg didn't come from our crime scene, is Josh our killer? Either way, this was a brutal murder that took place in front of 2 of her children.
What a way to leave her lying there in front of her own kids. Since the crime scene has raised questions about whether or not Josh could have done this, we're going to focus our investigation for now on the other suspect, Albert Ronnie Doris.
I wasn't over at Lydia's. I wasn't near Lydia's except for 8 o'clock when I went around there and saw the tape and stuff to see if my truck was still there.
Albert Ronnie Doris sold Lydia a truck, and we know that she still owed him $3,000, and she was supposed to pay him back around the time of the murder. We also know that Ronnie immediately reclaimed that truck after her death.
I'm telling you, I didn't have nothing to do with this, or nothing.
We need to figure out if Lydia's debt motivated Ronnie to kill her. We've seen people killed for a whole lot less. What do you remember about this red pickup truck that Lydia had purchased? Jessica Certeza was Lydia's cousin, and they were really close. We're hoping that she will know if there was any conflict between Lydia and Ronnie over that truck.
I know she paid for some cash for it.
She was murdered on August the 12th. Some people say that she was going to pay off the truck $3,000 worth on August the 14th, 2 days later.
Mm-hmm.
Can you see any way that Lydia could come up with $3,000 in cash?
I know that she often had bundles of money from somewhere. She had large amounts of money that wouldn't have come from Buffalo Wild Wings.
This could be huge. Nobody's ever said that Lydia had that kind of money in her apartment, and no money was found in Lydia's purse.
Thank you for seeing me.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. So if Lydia did have that kind of money, it's possible that Albert Ronnie Doris killed her to get his money and his truck back.
We're on the hunt for Albert Ronnie Doris. We know he used to live with a woman named Beverly, who used to babysit Lydia's kids.
So he still likes to live out in the boonies. Wonder why.
You can switch bins on cars easier without the police hassling you.
Right.
I'm going to venture to say that inside this house ain't going to smell good. Hey, Beverly, is Ronnie around?
No, he's not.
When do you expect him back?
I don't know.
Might we come in?
In a minute.
That's all right.
Hey, dog.
Take your seat if you find one.
All right.
My name's Alan Brown, and I've come in to help reopen Lydia's case. When's the last time you saw Ronnie?
It's been 2 or 3 months, about 2 months.
You use an electric razor?
And those are all of his clothes up there. Everything's set up in here is like a man lives here, Beverly.
Those boots over there in the corner? Don't cry. That's not going to work.
He might have been here before, but he leaves it stuff here.
Where is he at? What's his phone number?
I don't know.
I mean, did Ronnie kill Lydia?
No. Not that I know of.
Okay. So on the day of the murder, where did you think he was at that time?
He told me he was in Haiti or something,
Okay.
Iraq or...
Seems strange.
That's what he told me.
Did he and Lydia have a relationship? Any kind
He
of...
swore up and down that he did. But the kids, the middle one,
PJ?
he came to me and he hollered, Miss Bell, Mama kissed Ronnie right in the lips.
Right on the lips.
Yeah. He swore up and down that he didn't. But
No, I mean...
you know what 2-year-old don't like.
This is a twist. If Ronnie was in a secret relationship with Lydia, or at least wanted to be, then the money she owed him is not the only potential motive for him wanting to kill her.
Now, Bev, I know better. You have Ronnie's phone number.
No, I don't.
May I see your phone?
No?
May I see it? Thank you. May I call Ronnie from your phone?
I guess.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Why are you looking so worried?
I don't like police.
Well, thank God you finally said something honest.
Hey, Ronnie. This is Sergeant Shockley, the Gallatin Police Department. You'd be doing me a solid favor if you'd come by. There's a couple of things we want to ask you. Sounds good. He said he'll be at the Gallatin PD at 5 o'clock.
All right, Beverly, if Ronnie don't show up at the Gallatin Police Department at 5 o'clock, we'll be back. What's up, dog? Sorry.
Holy shit.
I'm always loving. It's just hard knowing that he's not coming home every day.
We are thrilled to report an update in the case of the beating death of Rocky Bryant that we tackled along with the Gaines County Sheriff's Department in the episode titled Blind Love. In a plea agreement a few weeks ago, Patricia Graves pled guilty to murder. The case against her co-defendant, Louis Villarreal, who was also charged with murder, is still pending.
Close just a minute, bro. Be in here just a second.
We are investigating the 2010 murder of Lydia Gutierrez. We believe our suspect, Albert Ronnie Doris, could be our murderer. Ronnie sold Lydia a truck that she still owed him $3,000 for. And we know that he immediately reclaimed that truck right after her death. So if Lydia did have that kind of money, it's possible that he killed her to get the money and his truck back.
So tell me, that red Chevy truck, what'd you agree to sell it to her for?
$7,000.
$7,000. So when she got her income tax, she paid you $4,000. So she's killed on Thursday, and she's going to come over Saturday. What's she coming to your place on Saturday for?
She said she had the money to pay me.
How much?
$3,000.
Told you she had $3,000?
Yes.
She's a waitress at Buffalo Wild Wings at in tax time.
You know, I didn't ask her where she got the money.
Did she give you the money?
No, because I never did. She got killed on Thursday.
She didn't make you any monthly payments? No sexual favors?
No.
No, nothing. So you let her ride?
I was just helping the young lady. I mean, she's just like a daughter to me.
Lydia's 2-year-old son, PJ, told Beverly that he saw Ronnie and Lydia kiss. But Ronnie's denying any sort of romance between them.
So on the day she's killed, August the 12th.
The police called and said you got an abandoned vehicle, and I didn't know what was going on. And then I called Beverly.
What does Beverly tell you when you call her?
She said that Lydia's been murdered. And I said, oh, no.
Okay.
It just tore me off pieces.
When Lydia was found murdered, Ronnie immediately produced receipts that he was across state lines in Kentucky that afternoon. The thing is, his receipts are for 2 and 3 o'clock. Ronnie could have easily murdered Lydia in the morning and been in Kentucky that afternoon, so these receipts don't really do anything.
So your DNA shouldn't be anywhere inside that house on anything that has to do with her homicide?
No, my friend.
Ronnie was pretty cooperative, but his alibi is weak. He may have had feelings for Lydia, and she owed him money, so he is not off the hook. Ronnie's girlfriend, Beverly, used to babysit Lydia's kids at her house, so Ronnie was around to the point that Lydia's kids even called him Uncle Ani. Lydia's young son, PJ, doesn't recall the details about the murder now, but back then he did talk to a therapist.
Did you talk with Grandma at all this weekend about Mommy? No?
I'm hoping that he described the killer to the therapist in a way that further implicates Ronnie or not.
PJ was very descriptive of talking about a monster and hearing his mom scream.
Do you remember PJ ever calling some guy Ani or talking about a guy named Ani?
Or something sounding like that?
No, I don't.
PJ knew Ronnie, so why wouldn't he call Ronnie by name? And Roberta never heard PJ refer to Ronnie at all when he talked about the crime. Is there any doubt in your mind that PJ saw what happened or a lot of what happened that day?
I believe that this child saw what happened that day.
Okay. A 2-year-old statement might not ever see the light of a courtroom, but it is giving us information and guidance in this investigation.
All right. Thank you, Roberta.
And I think it's time to focus on Josh Singletary. A lot of the questions about Josh Singletary and this crime come from the conflicting statements of his buddy, Cody Wade. Cody's claim that he dropped Josh off near Lydia's house the morning of the murder, and his admission that Josh told him he'd been in a fight, that's what led to Josh's arrest. We need to talk to Cody to see where his story stands and what he knows once and for all.
Cody, how are you?
What's up?
We're just here to ask you a few questions on a follow-up. Relax, man.
Relax. You come to my job. Who are you? What do you want?
You're not going to be in any trouble here.
I'm not in any trouble. I'm trying to forget about that shit.
We owe the young lady that was murdered her due.
She did something wrong, I guess. She was a slut, like most women are.
Does that justify him
being does it? I had nothing.
Yeah, but we should.
For you guys. I wasn't involved in it. I was pressured and pressured. That was a critical moment in my life right then when you guys pressured me.
You dropped him off, right? What did he tell you?
In a half hour, come back, meet me right here.
Same spot?
Yeah.
Okay.
When Cody originally recanted about dropping Josh off near Lydia's house, he claimed that he felt pressured into giving that story in the first place and that it was never true.
Sir, I told both of you false information. Oh, that was false.
And you can see that happening again right now, and it's very frustrating to have to deal with.
When y'all got back that day, is there any way Josh could have left the house for a little while?
No.
And well, how do you know that?
I mean, I don't know what you want, man. I don't understand this shit.
Your original statement, you had said, well, I took a nap.
I didn't sleep, man. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I did. Maybe I took a 2-hour nap. How long ago was this?
3 years.
3 years ago? Wow. Sometimes I can't remember what I did yesterday.
I believe that. An interview with Cody Wade would probably turn into a fiasco, even if you're trying to ask him what he ate for breakfast that morning. He's just that kind of a witness.
He's useless. Let's go. Thanks for your time.
He will tell you something, and then he'll back away from it. And then he'll say, well, what do you want me to say? And you're like, dude, no one's trying to make you say one thing that you don't know. Just talk about what you know and what you remember so we can move on with this case.
He is a nut. I told you.
We're investigating the 2010 murder of Lydia Gutierrez. Based on the evidence that the initial suspect, Josh Singletary, was near the crime scene at 9:05 a.m., investigators always believed that Lydia was killed in the morning. But after further reviewing the crime scene photos, I think we may have overlooked some important clues at establishing the time of death.
Hi, guys.
Hey.
Corporal Tim, why don't you?
So we brought in the original investigators to help piece this together.
One of the things that strikes me in the photos, the first thing I saw when I saw her shirt is her shirt looked wet.
If this happened truly in the morning, why does her shirt look so wet? 6, 7, 8 hours later. I mean, we're talking this is August. How hot is it here in August?
Pretty hot.
You remember talking about there still being suds in the sink?
There were suds in the sink.
There were still suds, soap suds in the sink.
Oh, really?
So if you wash dishes, you know, as we assume that's what she was doing, you know, if you leave suds in regular water, eventually it's all going to dissipate.
Right, and it's going to be just water. Thinking of Lydia's wet shirt and the fact that we still have soap bubbles in the kitchen sink, I don't believe Lydia was killed in the morning at all. She was killed in the afternoon, probably less than an hour before her son Carl arrived home from school at 2:45. It is a huge piece of evidence.
So there's a little over 2 hours window. Ronnie produced receipts showing that he was in Kentucky that afternoon, but now that we know that our murder happened in the afternoon, Ronnie couldn't be the murderer. Now we're left with just one suspect, Josh Singletary. Josh initially denied having a relationship with Lydia, and then he confessed to having sex with her. But he said they'd gone their separate ways months before the murder. We want to see if there's any more to this story. After all, Josh already lied about it once.
Tell us how you knew Lydia.
We worked at Buffalo Wild Wings together for 2 years.
How did you find out what happened to her?
Oh, I went to work the day after, and everybody was acting really weird. I didn't know. I didn't see her truck. I'm sorry.
It's okay. You know much about Joshua?
I know he used to come in the Buffalo Wild Wings and play poker, and Lydia was over the poker. That's where he met her at. He constantly was asking her for a date, and finally she caved in and went on that date.
They got together a couple times, I think, and then she wasn't interested anymore. She would ask, how do I let him off easily? I'm not interested in him.
What he visualized of them is not what she visualized. He'd always be calling her and asking her where she's at and what she's doing.
Becoming a little more possessive.
Yeah, and
like,
they weren't together.
Did you ever get anything out of the mouth of Josh that made you think he was chasing after her?
His exact words were, that girl's gonna be mine, she just don't know it yet.
It was pretty much flat out saying that he was stalking her.
Have you ever seen Josh get angry?
Oh yeah, say anything to him, he's violent.
You think he would be violent towards a female?
Given the right buttons pushed, yeah, I do.
There was one night in particular, we were out, and she got a text from him because she had blown him off that night. She didn't want to see him. I think she said she was at home, but he said, no, your car's not here. Where are you? She didn't want to go home. If he was out there, you know, waiting for her, it was starting to freak her out a little bit.
Lydia had called me, and he said, I'm sitting right here in front of your driveway. So I looked out from my bedroom window, and I saw the green Dodge Caravan sitting out there.
Veronica Calderon was Lydia's neighbor, and she saw Josh parked in a green van waiting for Lydia to come home. We know that Josh used to borrow his sister's green van.
Everybody sees it.
And neighbors reported seeing a green van frequently lurking around the street by Lydia's house. But Veronica also mentioned that her aunt and uncle had a strange run-in with a similar vehicle right around the time of the murder. So we've asked them to come down to the station.
On the day in question that we're talking about, which was August 12th of 2010, the day that murder occurred, what time of day were y'all coming through there, and where were y'all coming from?
My wife had just got off from work. I tell you, it was exactly in between 10 to 5 minutes to 2. Okay. When it was.
We was getting ready to turn in to go up to that street. That's when the van was coming down the street. And that's when he almost hit us like he gonna hit us head on.
He was almost hit that guy.
And James said, what's wrong with him? I said, I don't know. I said, something wrong. Just like that.
He kind of backed up a little bit, put it around and took out.
So y'all got so close he had to back up.
Yeah.
So you're looking at him, you see?
You know what? So his face, you know how you just look at somebody glance?
I know he was a white male.
Okay.
But he looked white to me. I want to say he might have been in his 20s, late 20s.
Okay.
Or early 30s. Like
30, 35, somewhere in that range, maybe.
What color was the van?
It was green.
Green?
Okay. Could you tell what kind of clothes he had on? Did he color shirt?
I think it was light blue.
Light blue?
Yeah.
This is brand new. Josh has always claimed that his sister's van was in New Jersey at the time of the murder. But now we have a green van fleeing Lydia's neighborhood just before 2 p.m. when we think our murder happened. Not only that, we have a description of the driver which matches Josh all the way down to the shirt he was wearing. The Sullivans saw a green van fleeing Lydia's neighborhood on the day of the murder. If the vehicle fleeing our scene was driven by the killer, then the murder occurred just before 1:50 p.m.
Okay, so timeline.
I've got the watch ready to go. We need to piece together everything we know about Josh's whereabouts that afternoon to see if it's possible if he could commit this crime.
We have a receipt that Josh was here at 12:33 to purchase some steaks and some other items.
We know that Josh and Cody purchased groceries and checked out at 12:33 p.m. If we approximate the time that the Sullivans saw the fleeing van at 1:50 p.m., the time frame for Josh to have committed this murder would have been between 12:33 and 1:50 p.m.
We're going to backtrack and see the time frame that would take to get from this location to his residence on Tyree Springs.
Don't go fast. You want to be conservative.
According to Josh and Cody's statements, they drove home after the grocery store and cooked lunch. The distance is a little over 8 miles.
That's their house right up the hill? Okay, so hit stop.
Okay, so I'm stopping. Rounding again in Josh's favor, the trip took 14 minutes. That brings us to 12:47 p.m. Now we'll give Josh a generous 30 minutes for lunch, which means we're estimating Josh leaving his house in his sister's van and heading to Lydia's around 1:17 p.m.
Now let's see how long it takes from here to there.
So the question is that enough time to arrive at Lydia's and kill her?
Being conservative, Yolanda, what's the amount of time you think he spent in the house?
Committing the actual murder, that was probably 5 to 10 minutes.
And we're here.
Basically 21:59, so let's just say 22 minutes. It took us 22 minutes, meaning Josh could have arrived around 1:39 p.m., giving him 11 minutes to kill Lydia and flee the scene before 1:50 when the Sullivans witnessed a green van speeding out of the neighborhood.
It works. The time works. We now believe, based on our drive time experiment, that it's possible for Josh Singletary to have killed Lydia Gutierrez in the afternoon. But Josh has always claimed that the vehicle we believe he was driving, his sister's green van, was in New Jersey at the time of the murder. We need to track down Josh's sister. If Josh lied and we can place that van in Tennessee, we're going to have a great piece of circumstantial evidence in this case.
Can I help you?
Hi, I'm Alan Brown.
Yes.
And this is Sergeant Shockley.
Yeah.
How are you? And we're looking back into Lydia's murder.
Yes.
At the time of the murder, where were you at?
New Jersey.
Who's in New Jersey?
My grandmother was.
So Lydia's murder was August the 12th of 2010. When did you go to New Jersey prior to that?
Idea.
I mean, like a week before to help?
I don't know. I was up there for a little while, maybe a week, maybe 2.
Oh, okay. How did you get there?
Drive. I had a green van.
What kind of vehicle did Josh drive at the time?
He didn't.
So if he needed to drive somebody's vehicle,
He doesn't drive anybody's car. He just got rides where he went.
he just got everybody to take him everywhere, like, I think, was that guy Cody?
Cody,
Or
me,
you?
Mom.
Well, we appreciate your time.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Oh, that was interesting.
I let the air out of my balloon because she's pretty convincing she's in that van.
But we've had several people that said Josh drove whenever he wanted. He would take her van for the most part.
Did you ever see Josh driving that van?
Yes, I did. 2 or 3 times, just in a week's period.
So I looked out from my bedroom window and I saw the green Dodge Caravan sitting out there.
The problem is we hadn't found anybody to say, I saw him driving the van, not only just that day, the day after, the day before. So, I mean, we're done. We're dead in the water.
It's a setback for sure, but we're not done yet. It is now time for us to talk to Josh to see if his story has changed.
Say, hey, we'd like to talk to you and just see what he says, and then I'll jump in. It's going to be right here. Hello. Is Josh home?
No, he's not. He's working.
Is he? All right. It's Chris.
This is Josh Singletary.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I have anything to say.
Right.
It's got everything you need from me.
All right.
DNA, my interviews that you already had. I've already been exonerated there, so I don't really have anything to speak to you guys about.
Hey, Josh, my name's Alan Brown. I'm helping him with the investigation, and
I don't have anything other to add to your case.
I know you don't think you do, but I just...
No, I know I don't, because I didn't do what they said I did.
The questions that we have really aren't accusatory. It's just questions about your relationship with Lydia and
Sex for a weekend. That was the entire relationship.
Once again, Josh is downplaying his relationship with Lydia and contradicting everything that we've heard about him.
We've never texted each other once or twice after that. Other than that, never talked to her again. I'm really, really fed up with this whole situation. You guys done questioned me over 1,000 times, plucking my hair, trimming my head.
Right.
You know, you got everything you need out of me. Go find somebody else, man.
You tell me that you had sex with Lydia a couple times, you might have texted her a couple times, and that was the end of it. But we have a lot of her friends who say otherwise.
Talking about how big my was and how good I... That's not the only thing she had to say to me.
My point is, it's about
how often you saw her and what the relationship was maybe a little bit more than what you're letting on. How many times would you say you were over at her house?
Twice.
That's it?
One Saturday and one Sunday, and never walked to her after that. 2 months later, I'm getting charged with a murder. Are you guys charging me at all?
No.
Yeah, I don't want to talk anymore. Have a great day. Bye.
Josh's story does not match up with other witnesses' accounts of their relationship. Our only chance in this case right now is to get a hit on DNA. Josh said he has not been in Lydia's house for months. If evidence of him is in our crime scene or on the murder weapon, that would be all we would need.
Hey, Cammie, this is Yolanda. How's it going?
Good. I've got your results.
Gallatin PD was very thorough in their initial investigation, and they've sent a lot of things off to the lab. Yolanda and Chris wanted a couple of more things tested just to be certain. And if we're going to clear this case today, I think this is our last chance.
We took the swabbings of the knife and we analyzed those. Definitely inconclusive. And then the victor's shirt, that also was inconclusive.
We didn't expect much more than that anyway.
I'm sorry, man. We might not have a full resolution to this case, but we have achieved a lot this week. We figured out the correct timeline of the murder.
If this happened truly in the morning, why does her shirt look so wet? 6, 7, 8 hours later.
There's still soap suds in the sink.
Oh, really? And we learned that the new timeline fits with Josh's timeline for the day. It works. The time works. We found new leads and witnesses.
That's when the van was coming down the street. And that's when he almost hit us like he gonna hit us head on.
I know he was a white male.
What color was the van?
It was green.
But without solid proof, that green van that Josh sometimes drove was in Gallatin the day of the murder.
At the time of the murder, where were you at?
New Jersey.
How did you get there?
I had a green van.
We don't have enough right now to take this case to the DA. Now that the green van has come into focus, I know that the investigators are going to try and confirm the whereabouts of the van that day. The good news is, really and truly, it's a 3.5-year-old case. You know, we have the ones where we say, stop wasting your time, tape up your box, put it on the shelf, and move on. This is not that case.
All right. Kelly, Yolanda, and Alan have put us in position to where we can hopefully tidy up just a little bit, clear up some things, some other questions that we have on the case, and hopefully it'll make it a little stronger.
It's heartbreaking to have to deliver this news to Virginia. Thank you for coming down here to see us. But we have to. You have to be honest with her. But we have asked her to not bring the boys in today. We did everything that we could during the time that we were here. And we weren't able to get enough evidence to present the case to the DA yet. I'll tell you this, Chris Shockley and the police department are so fired up. It's only been 3 years, Virginia. I know it's a lifetime for you. And no one can understand what you've been through. But in our world, there's a lot of time left where maybe they can get something to happen. Okay? You should never, ever feel like giving up. They're not giving up. They're fired up.
For a while, I thought they did give up. So now I know that they're more determined.
But it's going to be okay. Is there anything else I can tell you? My baby.
Have faith. You have faith.
Yes, I am always going to have hope, because that's the only way that I can be at peace with the thought of it.
For Lydia's boys, Carl and PJ and Roberto, I wish that we could make sure that they have some good memories of their mom, that they could grow up knowing that their mom and their grandmother are two very strong, very independent, very righteous women who are trying to bring them up in this world to be strong men themselves.
Thank you. Thank you. We still have to move forward and go on with living, because that's exactly what Lydia would want us to do. Keep going.
We need more information to solve this case and bring justice to Lydia and her family. If you have any information at all that might help, please call the Gallatin Police Department.